Archival wizard.
Richard Saturnino Owens, better known as Rick Owens, was born on November 18th, 1962. Rick is a Paris-based American fashion designer from Porterville, California. Owens was raised in a conservative Catholic household where the avant-garde style he is known for may have started forming. Owens describes growing up in Porterville as fairly stultifying, and he said, quote, he underwent the whole cycle of being raised in a very controlled environment and reacting that way in his teens by going out of control. He used alcohol and drugs. He was very flamboyant and extravagant, to try and distract him from what was happening at home. He then moved to Los Angeles to study abstract expressionist art at the Otis College of Art and Design for 2 years before taking pattern making and draping courses at the Los Angeles Trade and Technical School. LA moved fast for Rick, as he was a self-described sloppy, bitchy drunk. And that is the reason why he isn't sure when he first met Michelle Lamy, the woman who would change his life. In 1990, Michelle Lamy first met Rick Owens through Rick's then-boyfriend, hiring him as a pattern maker for her own line, Lamy. Rick's first move in the industry came when he left his textile job and started his own line of fashion in 1994. Operating on Hollywood Boulevard, Owens originally sold his designs exclusively to Charles Galley, an LA boutique that stocked big names such as Maison Margiela. In April of 2001 edition of Vogue Paris, British supermodel Kate Moss wore Rick Owens' leather jacket. Afterwards, the first Rick Owens show took place at the New York Fashion Week Spring-Summer 2002 season. The show was sponsored by American Vogue with help from Anna Wintour. American Vogue also featured him in a spread in the magazine. At this time, Owens would form a relationship with stylist Panos
Yapinis,
who has worked with Owens on every single one of Owens' presentations since. In 2002, Owens received the Perry Ellis Award for Emerging Talent. The same year saw Owens appointed artistic director of
Revlon,
the luxury French fur company. The designer sought international expansion and agreed a distribution deal with
Io Bacci Associate,
and so the designer's production was relocated to Italy. Owens also turned heads this year. Owens also turned heads this year by breaking into menswear. He became known for his twist on classic silhouettes and lots of black, giving him the name the Dark Lord of Fashion. However, Rick's fall 2002 show, Sucker Ball, came with equal parts white and brown, which made for a pleasing and cohesive color palette across the show, in my opinion. Thankfully, Rick was sobering up. Drinking was no longer fun, and he put more energy into his life and his work. But things weren't settling down. Owens and Lamy got robbed at gunpoint one night. The robber ripped all of Lamy's rings off her fingers, and she wears a lot of rings, Owens said. We were never comfortable there again, he says, about LA. They moved the next day into Chateau Marmont, where they stayed for a year. So now you know how Rick got his start. Let's talk about how he got his name. Rick Owens' first big piece came from his 2006 collection Dustulator, where he used lots of dark, baggy clothing and exaggerated silhouettes. But one thing that stood out was his shoe. Dubbed the Dustulator Dunk, it had a big profile and boot shape for a shoe that was styled like a Nike Dunk, thus the name Dustulator Dunks. The original design had a similar shape to the Nike swoosh on the side of the shoe, and Owens was rumored to have gotten a cease and desist from Nike, but that was never confirmed. Nonetheless, the Dustulator got a redesign, and the swoosh was gone. Owens would continue to experiment with the same format of baggy cuts, dark colors, and touches of fur reminiscent of his work until April 2002. When he released his first pieces of furniture in Berlin to some success, Owens later releases another furniture collection in London in 2013. His collection was strange yet functional. A lot of the furniture looked like props to a movie set in the future. His palette ranged from white to black with no saturation of color, and his material spanned from ox bones to painted plywood. This release was hinting at the fact that Owens would come to have a very versatile body of work, not just staying in the world of fashion. Also in 2013, Owens released a Rick Owens X Adidas collection that is probably the designer's most popular and most profitable shoe. Owens was contracted to Adidas for several seasons and was allowed to create his own line of co-branded sneakers. Some were completely original designs, while others were reinterpretations of the existing Adidas models, but still widely true to the Rick Owens aesthetic. In 2014, Owens celebrated his 20th year as a fashion designer by erecting a 25-foot statue of his torso by sculptor Doug Jennings above the entrance of Selfridges. The statue weighed 1.5 tons and took 12 weeks and 20 crew members to build. Along with the huge statement piece, inside the store you could find Rick Owens clothes, furniture, tableware, designer pieces, albums, and books, all for sale. In 2015, Owens made headlines again for his fashion work. This time, it was his choice to strategically cut holes in the menswear where the models' privates were. That move really kicked up some buzz around. Whether good or bad, it got a lot of attention in the fashion industry. Lastly, in 2017, along with the end of Rick Owens' X Adidas collab, Owens' first museum exhibition chronicling over 20 years of his life work, entitled Subhuman, Inhuman, and Superhuman, opened at the
Trainail.
One of the great strengths of Rick Owens' style is that it has no obvious home territory. Instead, there is a general sense of raw energy. So the presentation was played out in a combination of ultra-sophisticated materials and deep design thoughts. Eleonora Fiorani, the curator of the fashion department, said to Vogue magazine that while the power of these Rick Owens shows can be appreciated in the loop of videos at the end of the exhibition, the revolutionary quality of his work is experienced in up close, seeing each draped dress not slithering over the body but subtly changing the female shape. And I agree. Seeing the re-uploaded videos from his 2006 collections and so on aren't enough to bring me close to the collection and the feelings behind it. The atmosphere of the show helps elevate the clothing, and everything about the show is planned out with that in mind. Watching it in 720p on YouTube just isn't the same. Now, fashion shows and fashion in general isn't accessible to everyone, but Owens has made efforts to have parts of his work accessible to those who don't have piles of money. And he also has clothes that have function over form. Owens is an athletic person, and he has made clothes that he would feel comfortable in for any daily situation, like the drop crotch pants that were popular back in the early 10s. Still with the look of a future tech vampire, however it works for your day-to-day. Owens has a knack for working with the dark, but there's also a lot of light in his work. He has a good sense of humor, and reading up on him paints him as a very nice person, which is something you don't always see in the fashion world. Rick's sense of humor shines when he is poking fun at what fashion is traditionally like, when Owens recruited Estonian metal band Winnie Pooh to play in the middle of the catwalk, decked out in fetish-style masks, using a Motley Crue-style rotating drum kit, or when he revealed the table piece. This all showed his sense of humor. It was made with a lifelike mold of him on his hands and knees with a glass pane on his back. If you bought that piece, instead of in spirit bringing Owens into your home with you, by way of it being his designs or his labor, you're actually bringing Owens into your home. Well, as close as you can get to the real thing. It's quite a smart concept, really, if that's something he thought about while creating the piece. Otherwise, it's just really different and stands out because of what it is. I think Rick has a solid future in fashion. He has shown much versatility and ability to change fashion as an industry and fashion as an idea. He has already cemented himself as a designer to take seriously and carved out a niche with his dark palette and exaggerated silhouettes. If Rick continues to release inspired pieces that are not just clothes, I think he is here to stay. Personally, I like it when Rick works with dark, earthy tones, and I really like the pieces from the Dusty Later show, so I'd love to see more things like that come out soon. Finally, if I would have to rate Rick Owens, I would give him a Prince of Darkness out of 10. I hope he likes that rating because I feel like his wife could put a curse on me at any moment. I am Archival Wizard. Thank you for watching my video on Rick Owens. I hope you enjoyed learning some about him, just as I have, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next video. And let me know down in the comments any suggestions of things you would like to see me go over. I don't plan on sticking to just fashion because I'm interested in so much more than just fashion. Archival Wizard here. So I realized when I was editing this video and post that it's sort of a mess. My thoughts are all over the place and I kind of stuttered through a lot of the words, but that's mostly because I'm used to being behind the camera. This was my real first attempt at doing anything in front of the camera, so I appreciate that you bared through it if you made it this far. Love you so much. Thank you for watching the video.